our public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We need always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and films. I might remark right here that this film, by the way, is for the benefit of AAs and is not for public release. We had no public relations policy, accepting the fear of public relations, for the first 2 or 3 or 4 years of AA. Our societies, particularly in the West, our groups, of which there were only 2 or 3, were almost secret societies. In those days, if you'd posed the question of attraction versus promotion, the idea of attraction would be to sit on the front porch and wait for some drunks to come along asking for help. For example, there was severe condemnation of the people in the Philadelphia group who had gone to Curtis Bach, the owner of the Saturday Post, and had asked him, would he be interested in taking a look at AA? Well, he did take a look and caused Jack Alexander to be assigned to do the famous March 1941 piece. Well, then, of course, the arena was wide open to all comers and contenders. And soon we began to get AAs who were rushing to microphones, using the AA name, breaking anonymity, all for the good of the movement, because even these broken anonymity situations brought in customers. And so therefore, they were doing a good work. I now remember, too, that they thought that very often there should be a dual purpose here. This would be very good. I remember somebody ran down south for public office on what he called the AA ticket. I believe he wanted to become a district attorney. Well, he publicized AA and his good intentions politically besides. And another fellow rushed to the microphone and announced that he was soon going to produce a series of talks on AA, and that these would be sponsored by his employer, the Gulf Insurance Company, etc. And we had a great time finding out where attraction left off and promotion began. Well, right then it started to be evident that this attraction and promotion business represented 2 poles, and taken at their extremes, the conservative, rabid on the attraction theme, was so conservative that his do-nothing policies would rot us for lack of action. And the promoters, if given their way, would publicize us from hell to breakfast with all of the panoply of the media, plus probably sound trucks, too. In other words, the conservatives would rot us, and the promoters would ruin us. So that the line between attraction and promotion got to be a matter of common sense interpretation. So this is finally settled. Now, it was seen, too, that anonymity was the prevention of most bad publicity, because if people didn't scramble to the microphone with these mixed motives, and we didn't go too far in the way of promotion or too far in the way of doing nothing, then we'd have a public relation policy that would include an ever-widening stream of people coming into AA and getting well. And now we come to Tradition 12, and this one comprehends all of the traditions. Up to now, you have been listening to a recital, perhaps overlong, of the protective value of the traditions to our society. We have been talking very much in terms of simply averting calamity by taking prudent and unusual means and courses to do so. So now the question is posed by the listener, is there no more constructive or spiritual content to our traditions than simply the sum of our fears and anxieties and our efforts to protect ourselves from untoward evils and circumstances? Well, there certainly is. And all of these traditions have in them the elements of sacrifice. Sacrifice either by groups or by AA members. As we look back here, the common welfare tradition. People used to say, well, the drunk, he's the important guy. Well, surely he is. But how is he going to get well in any number if there is no fellowship? Therefore, the common welfare has to come first, and our individual welfare second. Likewise, we who have been prone to power driving have to yield to the idea that we may be instructed by the group conscience. We have thrown aside all ambition to be prominent in the alcohol field as a society. Our members go into these fields as individual citizens, and there they should be. But the society says, no, we will cleave to a single purpose. We have sacrificed the opportunity of raising very large sums of money for this society and for others by adopting the tradition declining outside contributions. Those of us who had special ambitions to be professional workers, I don't mean service workers in an office, I mean face-to-face therapy for pay. These are legitimate ambitions, but not good enough. A professional class in AA might even lead to our destruction and certainly to our compromise. So professionalism is out. Those of us who are power-ridden would like to unconsciously perhaps, and sometimes consciously, be more or less permanent governors of the destinies of AA. But now we see that our strength lies in letting go when our time comes. And this I recognize in myself. My time came some time ago, and our affairs have been under the management of our trustees almost without interference by me for these several years. And that's how it should be. But it represents a giving up, the sacrifice of ambitions, many of which would be legitimate in the world around us, all in the interest not only of their survival, but in the effectiveness and the joyousness of the life that we find in it and cherish so much. In our public relations, we have run contrary to all experience in the modern world.